The Great Land of Mythril. Chapter 1. Today was like any other. I started school at Avalanche High, where the kids there practiced their magic spells. Knowledge of magic was something everyone used in their everyday life. That was until a new society called the Order of Alexandrite. They were a group that was small at first, but soon grew when the war started between the humans and the demi-humans. This war was caused by the difference between the races. The human race got hostile due to political matters. Many of them were nobles who did not treat the demi-humans as equals, making other humans that didn't want to be treated like the demi-humans agreed with the nobles. The Order of Alexandrite is a group of uncivilized people who took advantage of the war gathering humans to kill off the demi-human race and kill any who use magic. I find myself in the last school with mixed races, where I live in a land where people didn't understand what current events occurred. I am 16 years old, and I am an average guy who loves to learn magic and socialize with my fellow classmates. I am a demi-human myself. I can produce a lot more magic than a normal human. The classroom is full of students as per usual. Looking around trying to find a spot to sit, I see a girl who has dark, ocean blue eyes, wolf-like ears, and a fluffy, long tail to contrast her thin, brown hair. She wears a worn black hoodie and gray pants. Her shoes are blue with black laces. Her eyes seem to sparkle as she watches 5 kids who seem to be playing a mystifying game of sketch. I walk up to an empty chair next to her and ask if the seat is taken. She responds with a no, and we start a conversation. "What's your name?" I ask. She replied hesitantly, "My name is Sindra. What's yours?" I tell Sindra, "My name is Theseus." The teacher, Mr. Kinderson, starts the lesson. He announces to the students, "Today we will be working in groups of 2. You may choose to work together to study and test spells that are required to pass the test." The other students started getting into groups, so I decided to ask Sindra if we could be partners. She agreed, and we both walked over to the forest. The rolling green hills and giant trees that reached the sky was a sight to see. As a thundering storm rolled in, lightning started dancing in the sky. The clouds appeared dark and mysterious as they got closer to the ground. Sindra and I looked over and saw a person with a strange cloak and mask walk towards us. Suddenly, the person struck one of our classmates with a powerful magic spell that was forbidden among demi-humans and humans alike, called Death's Gaze. The student disintegrated into ash, and before we knew it, it was all blown away by the thrashing winds of the thunderstorm. Sindra, just as shocked as I, followed me into the forest. I ran with her towards a large mountain that had a bunker underneath that only a few of us knew about. Unfortunately, I had depleted almost all of my abilities during practice. With the little power I had left, I cast a spell of enhanced agility and invisibility that made it nearly impossible to catch up to us or even find us. We found the entrance to the bunker and opened the large steel door. As we closed the door, we heard a large thunderbolt striking the tree, making it catch fire, but was put out due to the heavy rain and blowing what's left of the flames out with the tornado-like wind that made all the trees bend and crack. The door closed that made the ground beneath them rumble. Everything was completely closed off, and I could only hear our breath still stifled and hearts still beating at a rapid pace. We still couldn't believe what just happened, shocked and bewildered. I start to think back to the man in the cloak that used magic that was not only forbidden, but was not just any normal spell. This spell took one's whole life to just produce a simple version of Death's Gaze. For someone to conjure such a spell made me tremble even thinking about it. This must have been a lich that was a great sorcerer that ruled over an ancient dungeon that was uncovered by adventurers who plundered and destroyed, leaving the lich to awake with an indescribable rage. As I thought about the next course of action, I noticed that Sindra had a cut on her arm. She must have got cut during the hasty retreat towards the bunker by a branch. I took a healing potion out of my bag and poured some of it on a bandage that I proceeded to put over her wound. She thanked me and took a loaf of bread out and gave me half with a bit of buttermilk poured in a glass. We couldn't sleep, so I suggested that we explore the bunker as we were not allowed to go much further than the lounge. There, 5 doors each having a sign on them saying, "Do not enter." As we open the door, the whole room is lit up by a crystal chandelier. We look out at our surroundings, seeing a great library that spirals down farther than we could see. The library was lined with gemstones, gold, and other great treasures. We both gasped with excitement and unbelief. We seemed to have found the great library of Seraph. This library was fabled for being created to store the knowledge of everything in existence. If someone were to read one of these books, they would be erased from existence. "Well, should we get going? If we stay here, that cloaked person may find us," Sindra explains. I confirm that it's safe to explore and tell Sindra, yes, that's probably our best option. She starts down the stairs and I follow right beside her. All of a sudden we hear a voice that makes us tremble. It was the voice of the cloaked person who tracked us down. The cloaked man introduces himself as he casts the cloak off along with the mask. Sindra screamed, realizing that this was no ordinary person but a lich. The lich says that he is the sage of the great land Mythril. "I am here to execute all demi-human and magic-using humans." As he says this, a magical stone appears in his hand, catching fire. As he raised his hand to cast a spell that most likely would have killed us both, the floor gave in beneath us. I black out after falling for the first 10 seconds. I woke up with a crystal spike in my arm. I desperately pull the spike out and start healing the wound with magic. I could only stop the bleeding for now, so I looked around for Sindra and saw her close but unconscious and not hurt. When I start to walk over to wake her up, I trip on a rock, falling down. I fall down into what feels like an extravagant pillow, fluffy and warm. I realized what I had fallen down onto. It was too late. The mortified Sindra woke up and I was in the worst possible place. I can explain." She runs off into a room. I go after her to find her and see a skeleton armed with a bow. Sindra is by a chest full of gold and silver looking like nothing happened and started picking up gold. Before I knew it, I was in range of the skeleton's bow. It fired multiple shots with fire arrows that I quickly dodged, arrows piercing the wall. Taking up a sword and shield that I found by a rusty pile of equipment of a dead adventurer, I quickly spring into action. Sindra hears me and the skeleton clashing weapons. She takes her newfound riches and steps towards my direction only to trigger a pressure plate. A door opens with 6 skeletons staggering through the now open doorway. Sindra looks back at me, and I think of what we could do to get out of the place without confronting 7 skeletons at once. Noticing a stick of dynamite, I dash towards it, swiftly grabbing the explosive and lighting it. Rushing to the passageway, I take Sindra's hand, throwing the stick of dynamite at the now filled with skeletal warriors' storage room. We took cover around a corner, and the passage exploded with a large, deafening sound. We were safe now that the place where skeletons once were has now collapsed due to the explosion. "Are you all right?" I asked Sindra with concern. She responded while blushing, "Yeah, I think I will be okay." Wondering what she got from the treasure chest, I see a hill with a small moat surrounding it. There were 2 small trees, one dark and mysterious, and the other golden and beautiful. The grass was the same color as the trees, both separated as if to symbolize something. This place was full of life, with a fox with golden fur at the small bridge that led over the moat. "I want to apologize for falling onto your tail," I tell Sindra while avoiding eye contact. It's okay, I forgive you." Walking towards the bridge, the fox lifted his paw and pointed at a stone wall that had moss and vines covering most of it. Looking at the wall, we noticed there was writing made out of gold. The writing said, "Those who pass can only be ones of gold and brass. Ones with silver shall not trespass. Bronze may take, but never eat. The golden may take a fruit, but never the ugly truth. These are the regulations only the wise may follow." "What does it mean when it says gold, silver, and brass?" Sindra asked with a puzzled look. Looking at the text once more, I came to a conclusion. It might mean the types of people. The fox was nowhere to be seen, and so we walked up the hill and noticed a sword that was in a stump. The sword had gems and gold on the handle with a blue aura that surrounded it. The sword had a dark blade with ancient text on it. The sword lit up glowing as if it was on fire. Looking at the writing that was etched into the blade, I translated the text with a spell of conversion. It read, "Lama Souffletalor." Lifting the legendary sword out of the stump, Theseus is filled with energy from the sword. The sword lights up vibrantly with the ancient words glowing silver. Blacking out Sindra noticed this and caught him before he fell to the ground and put his knocked-out body onto the golden tree.